All right, here we go. We are live, episode 46 of the Lucas Grandsire podcast. Today we've got a very special guest, combat sports legend, recently inducted into the International Sports Hall of Fame. Over 40 years in combat sports, and we're not finished. Here with Bellator. What's going on, Mr. Burt Watson? How are you?
Oh, I'm trying to make it, baby. How about yourself, man? I'm happy to be here, Lucas.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. When I say you're a legend, people like to throw that term around, but for you, you could spend, I'm surprised you don't have like a million books out about yourself. I mean, it seems like you've done literally everything in this industry.
Yeah. And to kind of dogtail off of that a little bit, I do. There's a book in the works, and it will be out soon. It's something I've been thinking about for a while. But like everything, it's about timing and about when you think something's right and you feel something's right, and you got a story to tell. So I think that now is a pretty good time, when it's all kind of ended up on the spot where I'm just being inducted to the International Sports Hall of Fame, which was an absolute honor for me. It's been a long time and it's been quite a journey, and I'm just thankful that this is what they think of it. You know, this is what people think of the journey and what I've done. It was a part of the Arnold Classic, Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic in Columbus, Ohio. Dr. Bob Goldman and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Fairfax Hackley, they kind of put it all together, and it was really really an awesome thing, man. My grandson was there, and he actually picked up the medal. My son was there, who actually put it around my neck and the jacket. It was definitely awesome. It
Well,
was.
it's got to be good too for the recognition, right? Because a lot of times people they do things, nobody says anything to them, but for this, it's like that's officially the recognition that you deserve, and people are paying attention.
That is definitely the stamp, the seal of approval, and the fact that people are paying attention. And Lucas, it's when the event, like I said, was March 5th in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm sitting on the stage, and as they're going through, kind of building up to the presentation of the award, he's going through my history, and I'm listening to it, and I'm, man, just listening to it. There was things in there that I had forgotten,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, that I had forgotten that had happened, and forgotten that I've gone past and apart, and when he got through, I'm listening. I'm like, damn, where did that time go? But they brought awareness to it, and I'm just thankful that someone recognized it, and they gave it to me.
Well, what are you thinking as they're reading everything out loud? Are you realizing like you did all this stuff? Is there a part of you that's almost listening and forgetting that you did everything? Like, what's going through your mind as they're reading it?
As they're reading it, and I'm listening to it, and I'm thinking, and you're remembering it. I actually, we had on the inducting on the stage, there were 6 other people on the stage, and out of the 6, I worked with 4 of them
Yeah.
over my career. Ken Shamrock, Vinny Pazienza, Shannon Knapp, Stipe Miocic. I worked with those people in their careers when they were active and fighting, and rookies, and pro debuts, man. And while he's doing that, all of that's kind of flipping in my head, and it I'm like, damn, you know, I've been there, So it was one of those kind of surreal moments, listening to it and then seeing the people there and knowing that that actually did happen. You know, Sometimes though I look and I'm like, man, where's all that money?
All right. Yeah, exactly.
All that time, man. But you burn it up quickly. You burn it and your time up quickly, man. But I couldn't ask for a better life. I couldn't ask for a better career. now that I can look at it behind me and being recognized for it, man, I can't ask for it to have happened any better. And it did. It was legitimately a surreal moment.
When we look at your career, obviously you've had a lot of really cool moments. I mean, are you able to pinpoint one in particular? Like, I know for me, looking at everything you did, it sounds like wrapping a championship belt around Nelson Mandela with Joe Frazier around that. I mean, that has to rank top 5, top 10. That has to be up there.
That's up there at the top. That
Yeah.
is absolutely. I met. I've got to say that you know, my initial meeting and coming together with Joe Frazier was the start of it all. But then that was a surreal moment for me to meet him, because it was a very chance meeting that I met him, and then that to go on into the career, and then to meet when Nelson Mandela, because he was a boxer as a kid and as a young man. So when he got incarcerated and he did, I think it was 27 years, when he got out, one of his requests was to meet Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali. And this was at the United Nations building in New York, and he wanted to meet Muhammad. And Joe and I were sitting in a room, and he said to me, "What do you think I should take? Or what should I give him?" And jokingly, I said, "Well, you can't give him flowers, so and you can't give him no love, which in Joe Frazier's world meant money." Okay, so and we're sitting in the back office, in the back of the gym, and on this shelf, he had 2 trophies and that championship belt. And he said, "I'm gonna give him that belt." And that was the actual belt that he won in March 8th of 1971. He fought Muhammad Ali. And he said, "I'm gonna give him that belt." And that was, I picked the belt up, took the belt home, and kept it by my side until we went to New York to give it to Mandela. But that was, to meet Nelson Mandela like that was surreal. I did in 1989, I did a video project called Champions Forever. And that video project was with Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Muhammad Ali, Ken Norton, and Larry Holmes. Narrated by Reggie Jackson. And what it was a culmination of those 5 guys fighting each other and the fights they had within the circle of 5 guys. That video project was a 3-year tour. And we went to Buckingham Palace in front of the Queen. And that was pretty high up there, and I thought that was, I'm standing there and we had on formal tuxedos. I mean, the tails.
Yeah.
First time I ever had one of those things on, man.
Yeah.
And we're in here, and I'm looking, man, at those 5 guys standing there, and there's the Queen, and I'm like, because I'm from Philly, bro.
Yeah.
I'm a hood rat from West Philly. Okay, so for me, that was, and I thought that was it. But then I got to meet Nelson Mandela, and that kind of, But I've had some moments in my career, working with Joe Frazier and Muhammad and Sugar Ray Leonard and Mike Tyson, and just different moments in working with those guys, and traveling with Joe and meeting different people. We were in New York once, in California. So we're in California, and we're in a restaurant. We're meeting Sherman Hemsley, who at the time was really big, on moving on up to the East Side. And we were meeting him and Kenny Johnson, his manager at a restaurant. And Mickey Rourke was there. First time I got to meet Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
And we're sitting at a table, and so Mickey comes in, and he's sitting down, and we're at a table talking, and the restaurant's a little dark. So then this lady comes in, and she sits down, and she's sitting down. She had this hat on her head. She sit down at the table, and she sat to the head of the table up to the right next to Mickey Rourke, and he's leaning over like this, talking to her. So I couldn't really see her, but he's talking to her. So then she said something and started a conversation with Joe. So I kind of leaned back in Mickey's ear and said, who is that, bro?
Yeah.
And he said to me, if you got to ask me who that is, you need to get up from this table. And I didn't see her, didn't look. It was Madonna.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
I didn't get a good look at her. You know, she had the hat on and, you know, and all this around. And it was Madonna, you know, and I was like, okay, this is real.
Yeah. But
you know, she didn't hear that, but
no,
you know, so I've had my moments, man.
But are you realizing as this stuff is happening, just the how big it is? Like you're with Joe Frazier, you're meeting Nelson Mandela, there's Madonna, Mickey Rourke walks in. Are you realizing at the time, or does it take some time to realize just what you were a part of?
It takes time. As I grew, I came up with a little Burtism, and I got a few of them. And I got one that says that history has a way of making you a part of it without you asking for it. That'll happen. And, you know, you don't know it's going to be history till it becomes history. And you don't know you're going to be a part of it until it is history.
Right.
You know, so all of those things, you know, never thinking at one moment the magnitude of it or how, you know, on a scale of wherever it's going to go, how high up it is. Never. And not until, you know, now in my life and things like this, and I have interviews talking to you and I do other interviews and I start chatting out some of these things that have happened, and, you know, it's, but, you know, I'm still enjoying it, man. I'm still having a good time. And I have an even better time talking about it because it's not all the time you can sit and talk about things like that and it be the truth.
Yeah.
You know, you're not embellishing it, but you can't do that today, okay? Because this internet will get you. Because all somebody's got to do is put your name and somebody else's name that you might have lied about, and that internet will tell you he's lying.
So how did you get linked up with Joe Frazier? Because I believe the story goes, I believe you met him one time, you met him a second time. You pretty much told him, hire me or leave me alone. Is that right? Like what happened there? Because that
Yeah.
sounds incredibly bold to say that to Joe Frazier.
Well, I met Joe. I run, and I'm going to tell you, it's the strangest thing, the strangest meeting. I met him. I was working in Manhattan on Fifth Avenue. At the time, I was in fashion, if you can believe that. I worked for Levi Strauss. I sold piece goods to manufacturers of men's suits. So I worked in Manhattan, and I was walking to work one morning, and I was walking up 42nd Street to Fifth Avenue, and there was a car accident. So the cars were pulled over, and the traffic was stopped. And out of the car pops Joe Frazier. And I see him, and I'm walking, and I'm getting closer, and I'm looking at him because the traffic was stopped, nobody could move, and he wanted the traffic to move because he had someplace to be. And I walked up to him. I walked up to him, and I just said, "Hey," and he said, "Hey," you know. And I said, "Man, that's a horrible thing to be stuck in traffic," which was a horrible thing to say to him, but that started our conversation. So we started talking, you know, and I said, "Yeah, I'm here in New York and I work." And I said, "You know, but I'm from Philly," and bing,
Yeah.
that was it. I'm from Philly, he's from Philly. And he said, "Oh, you get to Philly much?" I said, "Well, my parents are still in Philly, So I come back and forth to see my mom, see my dad every now and then, and he said to me, the next time you're in Philly, stop by the gym. Now this was in 70, right after he fought March 8th, 1971, right after he fought Muhammad Ali. So it was a couple of years or so. So I said, you know what? I will do that. One thing, time went by, and I was in Philly. I went by the gym. He wasn't there the first time. I went by the second time. Sure enough, he was there. And we started talking. And he, at the time, had a limousine service that he was starting as a part of his business, which I didn't know that Joe Frazier did that.
Yeah.
So, I kind of left. Tell you how history makes you a part of it without you asking it. About 4 or 5 years later, and we're friends, kind of not close friends, but we're friends enough to communicate, because he was Joe Frazier and I was Burt Watson.
Right.
Okay. Joe Frazier, Burt Watson, and so I'm in Philly, and my niece is getting married. A friend of my mother's gave my niece a wedding present. The wedding present was the limousine to drive her from my mother's house to the church. The limousine service that the woman connected was Smoking Joe Frazier's limousine. The morning of my niece's wedding, Joe Frazier comes into the gym, picks up the clipboard, because back then we had clipboard, we didn't have computers, picked up the clipboard, saw my niece's wedding, and saw that the driver wasn't there. So you know what Joe Frazier did? He got in the limo and drove it. He shows up at my mom's house in the limo, and my nephew comes in the house. My nephew says, Uncle Burt, the limo is out there, and the guy said he'll park out front because there's no place for him to park. And he said, that guy looks like somebody.
Yeah, the guy.
Yeah, he said that guy looks like somebody, baseball, something. And I said, okay, just let me go talk to him. I walk outside. I walk up to the car. Who rolls the window down but Joe Frazier?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about a surreal moment. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing here? And that just, boom, there was our second meeting again. And that was it. From that point on, I started hanging out a little more, because we were doing the wedding. We kind of, got our friendships a little closer. And then I started seeing them coming to the gym and staying in Philly a little more. And then we started going out to different clubs. Now, by this time, Joe was done. Joe had his last fight March 8th, 1971. I think it was. Jumbo Cummings was his last fight. So he was hanging out. So we started going out, and we were hanging out, and I was going out with Smoking Joe Frazier, baby. You couldn't tell me nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I'd go out, and people would come over for autographs and hugs, and and every time somebody would come up, he would pull me over in front of him. Talk to him. Talk to him. Talk to him. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I was talking. He was pulling, and it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And then we'd leave, and next weekend we'd do the same thing. I'd write down the person's number and put it in my pocket and take it to the office and give it to him. And it kept going like that. And then we'd go out, and we'd hang out until 2 o'clock in the morning, which was not my lifestyle, man. I just got out of the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
I was still boot camp. But we did that, and we were going, and we were going, and we were drinking, and we were going, and we were drinking. And it got to a point, and then I had to go to work, okay, which was, I had a regular job.
Right.
And it got to a point, man, with hanging out with Joe and drinking and calling it a night at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then going to work the next morning. It got to a point one day, I just said to him, you know what, Joe? I said, you got to do one or two things. He said, what's that? I said, you got to either give me a job or leave me the hell alone. I can't do this. I can't do this no more. He said, you know what? He had a phone on the table, man. He said, pick that phone up and call him. Just like that. He said, you pick that phone up, you call him. That was it. I didn't pick the phone up and call him because it was a Thursday. But you know what? I kind of thought about it. Friday, Monday, I went in and I told him. That was the end of it. Gave my 2 weeks notice and I was with Joe Frazier from that point on, man. And we just continued on, and we started going places and he's still pulling me in front of him. That's how I kind of inadvertently became his manager. But then we started, he had people around him, but then he started saying to me, we got a little too many people around us.
Yeah.
So that was up to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. So I had to start cleaning house and, and that was, but that was the beginning of it. I became his manager and it went on from there, That was definitely, and I got to meet the people that I got to meet during my time with Joe Frazier. The list is unbelievable, for that time. I'd say Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. I don't know if you know who they are.
I do.
But at that time, that was Sean Penn and Madonna. Okay. Yeah. Bigger than that, and Warren Beatty. And it was, I just, there was time I was with Joe, I was doing this, man. And it was, but what a life, And, I stuck with him and, then he started doing promotions and I started, Marvis, he had Marvis. Joe had a promotion company where he promoted fights and didn't have to promote because everybody knew Joe Frazier. So everybody wanted to have Joe Frazier's fighter on their card, whether he could fight or not.
Yeah.
They wanted him on his card. So I got to move around and working with Marvis Frazier. Joe at one point had 6 of his family members fighting at one time. He had Marvis Frazier. He had Rodney Frazier, who was also a heavyweight. He had Smoking Joe Frazier Jr., who looked like Joe did this and put him on the floor. All right. He was every bit of Joe. He had Tyrone Mitchell Frazier. He had Mark Frazier. He had Anthony. He had about 6 guys fighting at one time. And we were, everybody, Don King, Butch Lewis, Lou Duva, everybody was using Joe's fighters. USA Today, HBO, Showtime. And as he was moving, I was meeting all these people. And I got to meet all these people as we go along. And I didn't have time to sit down and talk to them because I was working.
Yeah.
But the people that he put me in front of was unbelievable. And through that, I got to work with Bernard Hopkins and Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran and Tito Trinidad and on through Sugar Ray Leonard and Oscar De La Hoya and Mike Tyson. I did Mike Tyson's last 6 fights. Evander Holyfield, Layla Ali, which was an absolute trip.
Yeah.
Another surreal moment. In 2008, not only did Joe have all of his sons fighting, he eventually had his daughter fighting. And in 2008, I did a fight between Joe Frazier's daughter and Muhammad Ali's daughter. That was Layla Ali and Jackie Frazier. So that was Ali Frazier 4.
Yeah.
And that was also surreal to do that fight with those two girls. And it was at the Turning Stone Casino up in Canastota, New York, which is now the Boxing Hall of Fame. So I did that fight, and it just culminated. And over my career, the only boxer, and I can sit down, son, and write you a list. The only boxer I never worked with from 1975 to 1995 is Lennox Lewis. That's the only one. Anybody else that you can name that was on television, I somehow did a show, connected, and I worked with them through somebody. And I did that on till 1999 when I transitioned from boxing to MMA.
Speaking of MMA, I just want to touch on the UFC thing just a little bit, because we've heard the story. Everybody knows what happened, but I am kind of curious about the big story is, of course, somebody was on the phone with you. They didn't talk to you the right way, and you sent a message basically, and you're like, I'm done. Where does that kind of mindset come from? Because I've heard so many people say like, oh, you're not going to talk to me like that. And as soon as their boss calls them, hey, how are you? Yes, thank you. And it feels like people talk about it, but you were really about it.
Well, it's I'll tell you something, Lucas. When you tell the truth, you don't have to worry about a lie. You know, when you work hard, you don't have to worry about keeping your job. You shouldn't have to worry about keeping your job, because you work from your heart. You work because you know what you need to get done. And I've always been about that through my mom, you know, and through 3 years in the Marine Corps and Vietnam and all that other stuff. You know, I learned how to work, and to work for real, and to work hard. So I've always had that mindset, and I always felt that when I was working and doing a job, I know that I was putting 110%. And I know I was doing it right. And I never had to worry about my boss coming to me and saying, hey, I heard yada yada. No, he didn't have to do that, because he could come right to me, and it was yes or no. It was done. And like I said, my mom, my family, and my Marine Corps, I learned that. So that was always with me. And that was how, when I started working with Joe Frazier, he saw that. And when I got to work with Tyson and Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran, they saw that. So that has always been instilled in me. And then I transitioned in 1999, 2000. I did Costa Zoo and Zab Judah in Vegas. And the promoter said, hey, I got a guy that's doing this thing, and I want you to meet him, and, you know, it's going to be big, yada, yada, yada. And that guy was Dana White. God brought Dana White to me, and I didn't know him. And it was between weigh-ins. And I said to the guy, I said, you know what? I said, I'll tell you, you pay me and respect me, you got me. Plain and simple. Pay me, respect me, you got me. And that was the first thing I said to Dana White. And I'll stand to that on this day, and I hope you're looking. Okay? So that was a mindset, and also I had to back that up with good work. And I did that. So I always felt that, Lucas. I never felt any different. And if you ever challenged that, I was offended. If you ever questioned that, I was offended. Because you questioned it from I was getting ready to say a curse word, so I'm going to hold up on that.
No, feel free. Feel free. You can say anything you want.
But you questioned it from a BS place, because I know what my work was. So, you know, and I know that. And when this guy, who was a head honcho there, questioned the way I did something with a fighter, and it was Mark Munoz, he questioned the way I did it. Immediately, he was wrong. I wasn't wrong. In my head, immediately he was wrong. And he questioned it. And when he questioned it, when he was done and he came at me, I went back at him. He gave me a right, I gave him a Joe Frazier left hook. Plain and simple. and I didn't, you know, when I'm using that little metaphor, he threw a right and threw a left. Well, he couldn't fight because that shit he was throwing wasn't no, it wasn't no good, you know. But he questioned my integrity, he questioned my work ethics, and he questioned Burt Watson, and I just wasn't having it. And when he said yes, I said no. And when he asked how, I didn't have to answer, and that was the end of it. It went just like that, and it was that quickly. And I was offended. I could have probably, if I cooler heads, probably could have prevailed, and I probably could have thought back and thought about it a little bit. If I did, I probably would have waffled on it, but I wasn't, because I was questioned, and that there was no reason to question that, my work ethics. Not after I had put 14 years on the table, bro. 14 good years, and years of cultivating George St. Pierre and John Jones and Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell and Anderson Silva, you know, and Amanda Nunez. When I say cultivating, getting these people when they were rookies,
yep,
and taking them through, you know, and I wasn't gonna let somebody come in and question that, because the proof was there that I had already established that, and I wasn't lying. So when he came to me and questioned me, he threw that right, I gave him that left, baby, and that was the end of. So it wasn't hard to do. In fact, it was on the phone.
Yeah.
You know, and I said maybe we should do this conversation in the lobby. Now that would have been wrong, because I don't think anything good would have come of that. But you know, so it happened. You know, that was 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years, yeah, about that. You know, but no, I'm not gonna let you question my integrity or my work ethics. I will, and now, now that I got that HOF over my name, I'm really not gonna not gonna let you question it. But you know, now I'm good. You know, I've been kind of around in this world in MMA. I get nothing but respect from everybody. You know, and now working with Bellator, you know, it's unbelievable. I'm so happy to be here, to still be relevant, to still be going after a total of almost 40 years, man, between boxing and MMA is the time I've put in. If I ain't got it right by now, baby, I'll never get it right.
Fair enough. Listen, one last thing, because we are going over our time. You are, of course, with Bellator. You've got a giant week, or a giant few weeks, I should say. How crazy is everything going to be for you with all these huge Bellator events?
Oh man, but you know what? I told you about the time, but we're good, because I like talking to you, so we're good right now. We're good. It's good, man. We got right now. I'm in San Jose. And we got a title fight this weekend with AJ McKee and Mauricio Pitbull, which is awesome, off the hook. You know, Bellator, man, it's unbelievable, the momentum that they've picked up, and you know, the popularity that they're getting. And then after this week, then we go to Hawaii. We go from San Jose to Hawaii, which is awesome. We actually got 2 fights in that week, and the first fight on that next Friday is for the troops and first responders, which, me being a former Marine, man, that's all heart for me.
Yeah.
But we're doing that, and then that culminating that with Chris Cyborg and Owlsy Girl. You know, it's going to be definitely off the hook. I think Liz Carmouche is on one of them. You know, so it's definitely awesome. And Bellator is, you know, it's really, I'm blessed because I've managed to always work with good people and around good people and respectful people. You know, and I think I dug a pretty good hole, you know, to fall in. You know, but the people are awesome, and it makes it easy. You know, and when they don't question, but I think they've already learned not to question mine.
Yeah.
You know, it's good. But Scott Coker is awesome. Cariana is awesome. Everybody they got, you know, Jeff Miller, they got Mike Peroni, MJ, you know, and you know, Gloria, and, you know, Sue. It's just they've got Gio. It's a whole group of nothing but good people, you know, that are working with them. You know, if I keep naming here, and one thing I've learned, you start naming, you miss a name, you're in trouble.
Yep. You're gonna get a text message. What the hell, man?
Yeah, like man, you know, but it's definitely awesome, and I can see, you know, the show will be on Showtime, which is an awesome network, and working with them, and you know, working with Morrow and you know Josh and Big John McCarthy, you know, and John and I, man, you know, we go way back. You know, when John McCarthy first did UFC 1, whatever. But you know, we go way back. But it's definitely, and I'm having a great time, man. Seriously.
What kind of reception do you get from former UFC fighters that see you? Like, I'm trying to think of some people you're going to be working with coming up, like Yancy Medeiros, Corey Anderson. What does everybody just shout "We rolling" when they see you? Like, what kind of reception do you get?
Well, I did I was at an event. Someone asked me to come to an event. I was at an event this past December. We are now in April. I was in an event this past December, and I was on a stage, and I'm walking back. I'm answering that question, but I'm giving you a long answer on it. I'm walking back on the stage because I'm maneuvering fighters off and on, and there was a forklift that moved up on the stage, in the back of the stage, and then at the time I was walking the fighter, the forklift moved to do something. I didn't see the forklift move, so I fell in a hole. I fell 6 feet and I broke 4 ribs, and that was back December. And I'm right now at a point where out of the 4, 3 of them have healed, and 1 is kind of trying to heal. And the first thing when they see me, even fighters I don't know, is we rolling.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing. The second thing they want to do is have me shout and scream at a fight.
Yeah.
Well, for the past 4 months, I have not been able to breathe.
Yeah.
Okay, let alone shout and scream. And this is probably the most animated I've been since December.
Oh.
You know, and everybody. And then what's crazy is that I see them, and the first thing they want to do is hug me.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you've been around a group of fighters, but they don't know their strength.
Yeah.
None of them.
Yeah.
So them, a high five and a handshake or a hug is a hug. No, it's not. Okay, that shit hurts, and they want to grab you and hug you. And then with me, you know, they see me, they're glad to see me. They sneak up behind me,
Ooh.
wrap their arms around me, and pick me up. So
Yeah.
now I'm walking around looking over my shoulder because I can't have somebody walk up behind me and grab me and pick me up. And Corey, man, I haven't seen Yancy yet.
Yeah.
But I will get to see him. But I've seen so many people, you know, corners and different people from that I've worked with from the UFC, or just in general, man. And everybody wants to hug and they want to, you know. And then even guys, right now I've had 2 or 3 guys on this card who, it tells me how old I am when a fighter says to me, I used to watch you as a kid.
Yeah.
So like, what? When I was 5 years old, man, I was yelling, re-rolling. I didn't know that, but I do know that now. And when they get to this point to tell me that that's what they've been waiting for their career, is to have me walk them out of the dressing room to the cage on a wee rolling.
Yeah.
And I got two of them that asked me for this weekend. They're gonna get it this weekend.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have got it about a month ago, but I get asked all the time, and everybody it's out of respect. I think it's respect, and I know how genuine it is because it's the same with everybody, man. And I'm just thankful that it is that way. That is that kind of respect, man, because I can imagine if I've heard people talk about people, and when they talk about you messing up, they talk about you bad. But I've gotten, man, I'm telling you, the reception I've gotten from these guys, and that's everybody. Because with every fighter, there was somebody, each fighter has 2 to 3 people with him. With every fighter, there's somebody, either the fighter or somebody in there that knows of me and my history, and they want it. They want that yelling and screaming. I listen to classical music, man. That's how I start my morning, with classical music. But they want that yelling, they want that wee rolling, they want that loud and clear,
I mean, at what point did you realize that the we rolling, it's more than just you shouting at them? It's for some guys, that's how they know, like, I'm about to go out there, I'm going to fight. Like, what point did you realize that's actually important for a lot of athletes?
Well, I have always, Lucas, I became a coordinator because people say that they support the athlete and they're behind the athlete. I am behind the athletes and support. And I've always been concerned about athletes and their welfare, what it takes to cut weight, and the condition, and how they got to be and how they need to be treated. That's always been a concern for me. So, I always knew that athletes, especially when they're in the dressing room, as opposed to just going up on a guy in the dressing room and surprising him, it's time to go fight when he's probably already scared to death. Okay, he's got no nerves, he's nervous, and he's not ready. So I get them ready. I don't wait until it's time to go. I give an hour before a fight and I start yelling. We got 1 hour, we got 5-0 to go. We got a dirty 30 before we roll to that hole, baby. We got 2-5 before we go live. Whatever it takes to prepare them and help them and let them in their head. And some of them it scares to death, okay, and some of them it don't. But they all appreciate the fact that they know when they're getting ready to fight. And I've seen how important that is for guys to know that. I'm very animated, which I guess you probably already know. But I started out walking. They got this little thing that tells you how many steps you put on during the course of a day or how many steps you walk. It says on your phone. I looked at that one time and it was 36,000. All right. And that's a lot, but that's how much. So I'm saying that to say, back in the day, I used to run in and out of every dressing room all the time, yelling, we got to go, we got to go, we got to go. And I'd run in and out. And by the end of the night, the next day, my feet were this big because I did all that running around and all in and out. So one day I said, I was in MGM Grand in the bottom of the basement where I could hear myself. And I said to myself, I'm not walking down that hall no more. Ain't nobody back here but me. Nobody's running anything back here but me. There's no television back here but me. So I'm not running anymore. So I stood at the top of the hall where I knew everybody could hear me. And I yelled.
That's smart.
It's time to go. It's time to go. It's time to go. We rolling. And I went from we rolling, time to go to work, we rolling. You know what? Everybody heard it. And when they heard it, they knew it was time to roll to the hole, baby. And I said from that point, I am never going down that hall again. From now on, I'm going to stand here in Harlem. And you know what? It works. I can yell, we rolling from wherever. And not only does the fighter that's getting ready to fight knows, 2 fighters under him know that they're getting ready to get that. Okay? Yeah. So it gets them going. And and I've had maybe one guy that said, Mr. Burt, please. It makes me too nervous. So, you know what? I said, you know what? I got you, baby. I'm here to help you, not to hurt you. You know, if you're scared of it, tell me.
Yeah.
But you know, I had one guy said that to me that it kind of got him, but for the most part, that's all they want, man. They want to hear we rolling, and they want it good and loud. But it lets them know, man, you're getting ready to go to work, baby. You're getting ready to roll. And when it's time to roll, you know, there's one way in and one way out, baby. And I got to get you there. And I do it. And I do it good and loud. And where it comes from and why I haven't lost my voice by now, I have no idea, man. You know, but I still got it. It still comes out good and loud. I'm getting a little older, but I'm still rolling, baby.
With that being said, what's the craziest thing you've seen backstage? Because you hear guys that throw up like 10 times before going out there. Dudes get diarrhea right as they're about to walk out. I mean, what's the craziest thing you've seen?
I've had that. I've had a couple of guys had to go to the bathroom in the holding area. I think a guy passing out, probably.
Yeah.
You know, and this was a guy, and I won't embarrass him with his name, but this was a guy. I came in, and I could tell he was a little something was going on, because when I went in there and I got the fighter before him, his eyes got big.
Yeah.
And he disappeared. He went in the bathroom. So I kind of left that alone. Came, got the next fight. I didn't see him. Then it was his turn. And I went in there to get him, and I pulled him out. When he walked out of the bathroom and walked in front of me, he passed out. And he was the next fight.
Yeah.
You know, luckily, it was prelims, and luckily I had everybody prepared enough that we could go for the next fight right away. Because I'm always 4 fights deep, always. So I was good and prepared and ready to go. But that guy came and stood in front of me and said, "Boom!" I thought he was kidding, you know, because he stood in front, and I mean, he disragged. He just went, and he was out like a light, man. And we went and got the doctor. I brought the doctor back, you know, and they came and looked at him, and the doctor said, "You know what? It was nerves. He's all right. He's all right." But man, I know one guy, and I won't embarrass him by mentioning the name, but one guy that every time I did that, he had to go to the bathroom. He had to go to when he knew he was next. I knew he was in the bathroom. I'd go in there and see his legs, see his foot sitting down there, but he had to go. You know, one guy had a bucket, and like you said about how guys kind of get rid of their lunch, like they did it 2 and 3 times, and I knew, so I kept a bucket there. I knew this guy was like that, you know. Women, same thing. I've had them. I had one guy that got so nervous he wasn't going to fight. He wasn't going to. I spent 20 minutes convincing that guy, and I had to get him out there because he was the last fight before the main card, so I couldn't flip that around.
Yeah.
And when stuff like that goes down, it comes from one person, baby. And man, that was gymnastics with him. But I got him out there. And you know what? He got out there and he won.
Yeah. Wow.
And then he came back and wanted to hug me, and I'm like, I'm not ready to hug now. Okay, all that shit you just put me through, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, it was good, and he won his fight. But fighters, you know, I've always said that I always wanted fighters to know that they were not just there to get in that cage or that ring to get beat up. You know, somebody cares. You know, I care about you, and I care about your mental and your preparation and what it takes to get there. And believe it or not, I know what it takes. I know what that walk is like from the dressing room to the ring or the cage. I know what that walk is like. I know what that walk is like when you're standing there and your music comes on in the holding area and you don't move until it hits a certain beat. And you got the records, come on, let's go. And I'm standing there like, you go when you're ready, son. Okay. And they do. I mean, it hits a certain beat and they move. Other than that music can go, they ain't going nowhere. But I understand that. And I know that. So I let it go like that. But I do whatever I can to make sure that they got a good comfort level here and here. If those two things are in sync, then I got a guy that needs to be in there. If they're not in sync, I don't need to have him take that walk. So I do everything I can to prepare him for that, as opposed to trying to get around that happening and me figuring out what to do next. But it's always fighters first for me, you know, fighters first and second, and then me, always.
You talk about, you know, giving that speech to the fighter, doing the gymnastics, getting him out in the cage. What was it ultimately that you said to him that made it click and he was like, yeah, I'm going out there, I'm going to kick this guy's ass? If you remember.
I told him, I said, you know what? This is what you do and why you do it. And nobody else does it any better than you do. And if it was not for you, then I wouldn't be here. And this is your night, your fight. You need to go get that shit right. Plain and simple, baby. And if you don't feel that, then you don't need to be out there. I put a little more powder on it, okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, you know, and that's face to face. I do everything face to face. You know, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot to get out there. It's a lot to take that walk. It's a lot to train. It's a lot to cut weight. Then you got to get out in there and have somebody come at you to knock you out. Don't let it be easy for that guy to knock you out and come back in here and tell me how you got shifted. No. You handle your business. You handle your own. You know, and I tell them, everybody in here can fight. Don't underestimate the other guy because you got 12 fights and he's got 2. It only takes 1. So you need to know that, you need to get it right, and you need to feel it. And that's what I instill in them and try to get over. But you know, I did that once. I tell you how fighters don't realize their strength.
Yeah.
I did that with Uriah Faber. I get them in the holding area and I get right in their face, you know, and I get them going intentionally. Okay. I intentionally get them going and they know that. And I'm going and he's going and I'm going. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. And I did it again. And I threw my hand up to give him a high five. And he said, yeah, bam. And it was like in slow motion. Oh no, shit.
Yeah.
my hand, my body, my leg. Oh man! And this was Uriah Faber's not a tall fighter.
No.
He gave me that high five, man, and it was like this. All the whole body went.
Yeah.
Man, I was like, oh, never again.
No.
Yeah. Next time I get him excited, I'm gonna do it from the side. Okay. Man, he gave me that high five, and it went through my whole entire body, man. But you know what? You gotta love it, man. You gotta love it, and that's why the fans love it, and the fans are there, and you know they enjoy it, and they enjoy seeing it. But there's a lot that goes into it, man. An awful lot. So.
I feel like this is a great place to kind of end things. I mean, because people, I think they don't realize what fighters go through mentally before the fights, and that kind of helps them realize like they're human beings. You know what I mean? People treat them like they're racehorses or whatever. That's actual people that have to go fight a guy. Like you're gonna get anxiety.
100%, and they got to be right. They got to be prepared, you know, to give you that show. And you know what? And not only that, but they got to do it again.
Yeah.
You know, they got to be able to do it again, to come back and come out and go back and do it all over again. But you know what, guys, do it, you know, and I make sure that they know that Burt Watson cares, that I care about you, baby, you know, and that I'm going to respect you, and I'm going to make everybody around me respect you. But you have to respect me and everybody else around, so that together we can get that done. And we get it done, baby, all night long.
All right, man. So to end things, you have social media. I'm sure you have a bunch of stuff you'd like to plug.
Man.
So if you have anything you want to plug, now's the time.
Absolutely. Well, I love communicating with people on social media. You know, I'm on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and everything is Burt Watson for real. 1, 2, 3, 4. Burt Watson for real. Touch me up, man. Hit me up. I'll hit you back. 100%. I love communicating. You know, when I put something out there, just like it. Just put one little like on it. You know, I'm gonna throw some stuff out on this fight, and then when I get to Hawaii, I'm gonna throw some more stuff. But follow me, and I'll follow you back, baby. You got my word on that. Burt Watson for real.
All right.
And make sure you watch Legends to Legends on MMA Junkie. You can go now and see the past interviews with George St. Pierre, Randy Couture, Chael Sonnen. You know, it's off the chain. Legends to Legends, rolling with Burt Watson. MMA Junkie, baby. Boom.
All right, well, there we go. Thank you so much, Mr. Hall of Famer Burt Watson, for the time. I truly appreciate so many great stories. I mean, so much stuff to unpack. I truly appreciate it.
Lucas, I appreciate you, baby. And, you know, anytime, next time, your time. I'm ready.
I appreciate that.